What is up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to the channel. Today we will be checking out a list of expiring contracts here in Dallas. We'll see who might be getting a new deal and whose time might have run its course here at the Star. We'll see how all that affects the Cowboys and their potential efforts in free agency. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, before we begin, just a little bit of housekeeping. So if you haven't already, you can check us out over on Twitter. Go to Twitter in the top right corner, little search bar, look up Cowboys Storyliners. We're like a nerdy little fan club for Nick Eatman's Cowboys Storyline podcast, and we run spaces every Thursday night. That's a opportunity for us all to get together on Twitter, jump on the mics. We can have up to 10 people on the mics at the same time. Tons of listeners. People jump on and off the mic, switch in and out, and it gives you a chance to come talk with me, talk with some of the other regulars that join in and out. Sometimes the guys from the Cowboys website will come in, like Nick Eatman. It's a real fun time, real good time every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can check that out over on Twitter. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Lord_Dilly. All right, now getting into the list of the free agents for Dallas, let's talk turkey. So first up, we're just going to go straight down this list, and we'll discuss each player. Kenneth Murray, I think it's pretty obvious he won't be back. Spotrac has his market value at about $5 million annual value. That's highway robbery. He won't be back with a star on his helmet. Donovan Wilson, though, this one is interesting because he wasn't great, right? We all know he can't really cover. He's more of a box safety. However, Eberflus obviously didn't use him right, just like a number of guys. And so I'm curious if the Cowboys have any interest in bringing a guy back who he's a decent tackler, can play in the box pretty well. Not a great cover guy. I'm going to say the Cowboys move on from him, but the only question mark is now you're opening up another hole on a defense where you really can't afford to have a bunch of more holes because you've already got so many. So do you really move on from Donovan Wilson? I don't know. And a lot. The other guy is obviously Malik Hooker, and he's a cut candidate. But I think if you're going to keep either him or Donovan Wilson, you probably keep Malik Hooker. Although you could save some money by cutting him and save some money towards the cap. But I'm going to say Donovan Wilson's probably going to be out the door, and the Cowboys might look for another safety in free agency. Just my guess. Dante Fowler Jr., market value $5 million per year. His previous was $6 million on a 1 year. Maybe he can sign another 1 year deal for maybe $3 million. I'd be cool with bringing him back for $3 million. Didn't have a great season, but again, a lot of guys didn't have great seasons under this last DC. You need all of the edge help you can possibly get, all the pass rush help you can possibly get. He obviously was injured. See if you can get him for $3 million. I'd be interested in bringing him back. Otherwise, if he's closer to that $6 million mark, maybe let him go test free agency. Robert Jones, I'd be interested in bringing him back. He got hurt early in camp, and so that's a good depth piece. He's obviously not a starter on this team, but for $2.5 million is what Spotrac says his market value is. Yeah, I'd bring him back on a 1 year deal, see if they can retain him. Jadeveon Clowney, $5.5 million for the guy that led the team in sacks. He's 33 years old. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? He was your best player off the edge last season. I think clearly you got to bring him back. See if you can get him maybe on a 1 or 2 year deal at $5.5 to $6 million, I guess, is what you're looking at. But yeah, I would bring Jadeveon Clowney back, and I think the Cowboys will do that. Javonte Williams, though, personally, I'm not wanting Javonte to walk, but I'm also not really interested in paying more than maybe $6 million per year for him. The market value per Spotrac is about $7.5 million average annual value. I would see if I could get him on a 3 year deal at $6 million per year, and maybe guarantee half of it, something like that. Not sure what the market will look like. The running back market is, of course, a little bit devalued, deflated. So if you can get him at $6 million, I'm happy. $7.5 million per year, you're stretching it. Not totally against it, but you don't really have another choice at running back is the issue. You got Blue, who's not an all-around back. You've got Phil Maffa. You got Malik Davis. You got all these guys who are more role players than where Javonte Williams is more of an all-around pass blocker, running. He could do everything, right? And so, $7.5 million, I guess you could do. I'm trying to shoot for that $6 million mark, but I think the Cowboys probably will retain Javonte Williams. Peyton Turner, again, another guy comes off the edge. Can play inside a little bit, but you need a lot of defensive linemen for what I would assume is going to be a lot of 5-man fronts here. So yeah, for $2 million, I'd see if I could give him a 1-year deal at $2 million. We're going to skip George Pickens for now and come back to him. Sam Williams, thank you for your service. We'll see you later. Jack Sanborn, see you later. Miles Sanders, see you later. Jalen Tolbert, I think he got a lot of flack in Dallas undeservedly, including for myself. He just wasn't an exciting player to watch as wide receiver 3. Stepped into wide receiver 2 at times and was okay. Just always an okay player. Never did anything really well. And so Jalen Tolbert, go test that free agency market. We'll see you later. CJ Goodwin, your special teammates. I think it's time to go ahead and move on from CJ Goodwin. Corey Ballantyne, you'll say goodbye to him potentially. Akeem Adeniji, you'll probably pay him on a year or 2 contract. I think you'll go ahead and retain him. Now, here's the thing. Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass. So when we look at what the types of free agents are, right, those were all unrestricted free agents. If we now go and look at what it means to be a restricted free agent, right, the team has options here to place different tenders on. You can do a first-round tender, second-round tender, an original round tender, a right of refusal tender. So I think what this team might do is I don't think they'll do tenders on Hoffman or Bass. I think if anybody gets any sort of tenders, I think it would be Wanye Thomas or Brandon Aubrey, right? I think they probably will bring back and sign either Brock Hoffman or TJ Bass. I don't know what that contract would look like. Probably somewhere around $1.5 million per year, roughly $1 million to $1.5 million per year. And I think that those are depth pieces. I think if anybody comes back, I think it'd probably be Hoffman because he gives you that position flexibility at center and at guard. If you look at now the Wanye Thomas, so we'll say Brock Hoffman stays for, we'll say $1.5 million. Let's just throw that out there, $1.5 million on a 2-year deal, and he's your depth piece at guard and center. TJ Bass, I would go ahead and let him go. Wanye Thomas and Brandon Aubrey, though, if we look at the tenders you can place on these guys, maybe you probably try to work on, a contract for Aubrey, but you could potentially do tenders on these guys. So if you look at like a right of refusal tender on like a Brandon Aubrey, you're looking at $3.263 million 1-year deal, right? And if somebody else comes through and tries to match that offer or pay him more at another team, then the Cowboys have the right of first refusal. So they can go ahead and match that offer at that point in time. Which is, I don't think that's a terrible thing to do. Maybe you put that right of first refusal tender on Brandon Aubrey. Wanye Thomas, I'm not sure what you do there because he really hasn't, he's been hurt a little bit. You don't really know what you have. I like Wanye Thomas. I think that if he's healthy, I think he could be a borderline starting caliber safety in the NFL. I think I try to work out maybe a 2-year deal with Wanye Thomas. Honestly. Because he's not an exclusive rights free agent. Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think that I think I'm gonna try to get a 2-year deal done with Wanye Thomas. Let's see what his market value is. About $1.5 million is what his valuation is here on OTC. $1 million to $1.5 million. Maybe a 2-year deal at $3 million. At $2.5 million. All right, I'd offer him a 2-year deal at $2.5 million because I think he could be a player. I like Wanye Thomas. I really do. Okay, so let's say the Cowboys bring him back on a $2.5 million deal, 2 years, right? That's what, $1.3 million per year? Yeah, I don't hate that. All right, and then we get to Josh Butler and Reddy Stewart. I think the Cowboys bring both of these guys back. Josh Butler's just now getting healthy. They're both exclusive rights free agents. And so, what that means is that the team can offer them a 1-year league minimum deal. And I think the Cowboys probably do that with both. That's our list of unrestricted free agents, restricted free agents, and exclusive rights free agents. So we made some moves there, let some guys walk and retain some others. Now let's go back to who I said, George Pickens. So this is the real tricky one for this whole situation, right? So George Pickens, Cowboys are going to tag him, and then the question is going to be, do you play George Pickens on the tag, or do you work out a deal? They're obviously going to be trying to work out a deal with George Pickens during the offseason, right? Will they get it done? That's the question. Or will he be traded? And there's a lot of rumors around him being traded. Listen, it makes sense, somewhat if you dig into it and what his value is, maybe a first and a third for him, maybe a first and a fourth for him, whatever that might be. That's pretty good compensation. But then you're opening up a hole on the offense at receiver. Now you got to either draft a guy, you got to find a guy in free agency, because Flournoy is going to be your number 2, I would assume at that point, unless you draft a guy or sign a guy. And you're causing a little bit of chaos there at that point when you already have a solution in place. And I don't really want to move away from one side to try to fix the other. So I don't want to get away from a stud wide receiver who really elevates this team and makes it one of the best offenses in the NFL to try to, fix the other side on the defense when I could just go play in free agency and fix the defense, or free agency and draft, right? So I'm going to personally, I would say the Cowboys probably sign George Pickens. And just like Spotrac says here, $30 million a year, that's basically what my valuation was on George Pickens. Maybe a T. Higgins type deal where T. Higgins is at $28 million per year. You count for inflation in the cap, and you're looking at maybe $30 million a year for George Pickens on a 4-year deal. And I would guarantee probably $40 to $50 million of that. So obviously there's character concerns with George. If he's late to meetings today and he's not giving his best effort here and there in some games, what's he going to do once he gets paid? Is it going to be even worse? That's the concern. But what he brings to the table, what we saw in 2025 from him, is too much to not offer him a nice contract. And so if I'm the Cowboys, that's what I'm doing. $30 million a year, 40 to 50, probably $40 million is what I'm shooting for, guaranteed. That's about what T. Higgins got, I believe, in his contract, somewhere around that ballpark. So that's what we're doing with George Pickens. And that's what I got for y'all. So if y'all made it this far in the video, appreciate you watching. Like I said, come check us out on Twitter, Cowboys Storyliners, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Come jump in our spaces, come hang out, come chat, talk some football with me and some other cool folks. Appreciate y'all sticking around and hanging out with me today. And with that said, we'll catch you later.
The silver and blue is a promise we keep in the heat of the noon, and the valley so steep we're climbing the mountain.